I welcome Bhavna Toor, who will be giving a session on mindfulness tool for self-transformation. Bhavna is the founder of Shenomics, a leadership platform supporting women on subjects like leadership and mindfulness. She is internationally trained mindfulness and women's leadership coach. She has also been active on various platforms, including TEDx, and has trained and coached high potential women at leading Fortune 500 companies across the world. Over to you, Bhavna.
Thank you, Harpreet, for that introduction. I just give me a second. I will share my screen. All right. A very warm welcome to all of you. I'm so glad to be here to talk to you about a topic that I personally am always very happy and excited to talk about because I see the difference and impact talking about this subject, which is building our brand, can really make for all of us, especially as women, especially in the professional front. So let's talk about and let's actually demystify what does it really mean for us to build a strong brand, to build an authentic brand, to build a powerful brand. And in particular, what we'll talk about today is how do we do it mindfully, because that is the thing that's really going to make all the difference. So let's get started. So for today's session, I know we only have 60 minutes, but would love it if you're in a relatively quiet space so you have time to think, because we do want you to do quite a bit of reflection. So hopefully you have a pen and notepad handy. All right, having said that, let's begin. So now that you know the topic is building our brand, I'd love to just hear some thoughts, and maybe you can even just type in a quick response in the chat if you like, or feel free to unmute yourself. What comes to your mind when you hear the word brand? So everything around us has a brand, whether it's the products that we use, the services, all of us, every single one of us, whether we are aware of it or not, we have a brand. But what is it? Impressions, Archana saying a trusted product, identity. Okay, those are all good answers. And definitely touch upon what we're going to be talking about today. Let me share with you a definition that I personally really like, and that is as follows: your brand is the sum total of experiences people have when they engage with you. And the reason why I like this definition is for two reasons. First of all, it tells you that it's a sum total of experiences people have. It is something that we invest in over time. It's not just a one time thing, it is something we have to keep coming back to. And as it says, it's a sum total of experiences that we create for others every time we engage with them. And that can happen even through micro interactions. The way you say hello to someone, the way you ask about someone's day, the way you work with people on your team, the way you show up, even when on days that are hard, all of those things are conveying something about you to people around you and are giving them an impression of your brand. So it is an experience, and that's what we'll talk about. How do we become more intentional about what is this experience anyone has when they look at us, when they read about us, when they think about us, when they engage with us? How do we become a lot more intentional about creating those experiences? And in particular, as I said, we will apply a lens of mindfulness today, which quite simply will allow us to ensure that who we are on the inside, who I say I am, who I say I believe in, who I say I'm passionate about, is exactly what the world sees me for, is exactly what the world values me for. That whatever it is that you are projecting on the outside is connected with who you really are. Because if you do that, if you create that alignment for yourself, that is when your brand truly becomes unique. I see someone here has mentioned unique as a word when that comes up for them when they think about brand. um, I mean, in this, when we look at this world of 7 billion plus individuals, the fact of the matter is there is only one of you. As big as this world may get, there is still only one of you. So when we start focusing on who we are as individuals, what makes us uniquely who we are, and then we project that more and more and more, that is when our brand becomes authentic. And the more authentic our brand, the more unique it becomes, and the more powerful it becomes, and the more memorable it becomes, because there is only one of you. So the more we project that, the stronger the impact we create on others. So the framework we will use today is to get you all to reflect on a set of questions, 4 questions in particular, that we'll go over one by one. And these questions, I do want to uh, lay the context for this upfront, are not always the easiest questions to answer. It'll be very easy for me to give them to you, but it's not easy to answer them. It requires a lot of reflection. But we still want to give you these questions today so you can start to frame your thinking around how you want to show up as an individual, as a professional, as a leader. The more and more you continue to reflect on these questions, the more and more clarity you will get. Having said that, if today you are not able to come up with an answer that sounds good to you, an answer that feels right to you, please, please, please be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, because these questions, as I said, do require time. So for today, just go with whatever comes up for you, whatever answer feels true for you. Please don't put any pressure on yourself to come up with the perfect answer, because that will take time. So let's begin with the first question. And the first question, as you can see, is what? So, what do we mean by what? The question what is asking, what is the impact you want to make in your career? And in terms of the time horizon, we leave it entirely up to you. For some of you, you may have absolute clarity about where you want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. For some of you, maybe you can only think a few months ahead, and that is okay as well. And then for others, you may be unsure where you really want to be, and that is okay as well. Just go with, when you pose yourself this question, what comes up almost instantaneously for you. And the reason why we're beginning with this question is because the process of creating this identity, this unique identity for ourselves, has to be anchored in the kind of impact we want to make, which is why we use this image as the cover image for this session. Because as you can see, you have a bunch of very unique, very colorful spices. But what makes each and every one of these spices valuable, it's not what it is in and of itself, is because it creates value when you use it. So how do you want to use your brand to create value for everyone around you and for yourself? This is not about just creating a brand for the sake of it. The more we anchor it around the impact we want to make, the more powerful it becomes. And in order to answer this question, we'll give you a set of prompts. So it starts to get your thoughts flowing in the right direction. And I'll share with you these prompts, and we'll give you some time to think about this as well. So, wouldn't it be great if? What if I? And how cool would it be if I could? And just to give you some ideas. I'll share with you what comes up for me when I give myself these prompts. And the other thing I'll say as we give you these prompts is really allow yourself to dream. Really liberate yourself from any constraints, any limitations. Just pretend I have a magic wand here in my hand, which I'm transferring to you. And with just a flick of your wrist, you can make all limitations, all constraints just vanish, just poof, disappear. And when you then just with a blank slate, just allow yourself to dream what comes up. So for me, when I ask myself this, these are some of the things that come up for me. Wouldn't it be great if I can help countless women around the world live and lead from within? How cool would it be if I could write a book on mindful leadership? I would be so proud if I could become one of the world's leading authorities on women's leadership and mindful leadership. So that what comes up for me. And again, I say allow yourself to dream because the biggest, one of the biggest tools we always say at Shenomics, really there are two tools for self-transformation. The first, of course, is self-awareness, which comes from mindfulness. The second, which is equally powerful, is our ability to imagine. So our imagination is the strongest tool as well. So really allow yourself to imagine and dream and see what comes up. So we're going to give you about a minute, minute and a half. Just let your thoughts flow and complete these sentences however you would like to. And Kusuma, I love your response. Kusuma saying if everybody was kind and responsible. One thing I would encourage all of you to do is so that's wonderful. That's a great thought to have for the world. What I would encourage you to do for this exercise is to keep the focus on yourself. So you might say some, if you flip this around, you might say something like, wouldn't it be great if I could be kind and responsible all the time or as much as possible? So keep the lens and keep the focus on yourself. All right. Let's hear some thoughts around this. What else came up? What else came up for you? And you can, even if it's just one or two words that are springing up right now, that is still good. What comes up for you when you give yourself these prompts? How do you complete these sentences based on whatever is true for you at this time? Let's see a few responses. Saroj is saying, help needy with the power of technology in my hand. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Saroj. And then Shakti Vanilla, if I could manage my time well, if I could be the next Mark Zuckerberg, nice. See, you have really allowed yourself to imagine and dream, and I love that. To be in a place where all women could connect and help each other, because let's be honest, we have our own fallacy and our own gender needs to understand our place and needs more mentoring for other women. Amazing, amazing. I love it. Navreet is saying, if I could get some more time to invest in my learning. Excellent. Great. So, as you can see, just looking at these responses, um, the response is going to be very unique to each and every one of you, because as you know, we are unique individuals. We have our own aspirations, we have our own dreams, we have our own needs, and that's great, because if we start anchoring our brand around that, that's what's going to start making it feel authentic and, most importantly, meaningful, because all of these responses have to mean something to you as an individual. And Harpreet is saying, if I can lead a community that empowers women from small towns to grow both technically and non-technically. Nice, Harpreet. I really like that as well. So great. And for the rest of you, if you are struggling with this, please, please, please don't worry. Again, I want to say be gentle with yourself. And after this session, we will be sharing with you a summary with a lot of these questions, so you can go back and reflect on this on your own time, and see what comes up for you then. All right. So that's where we begin with the what. The what gives us a sense of direction, and having a sense of direction is very, very important, especially a sense of direction which is anchored with a vision of the future, with a hopeful and a bright vision for the future. The second one is why. And the why is also an interesting question and a very important question. So, to give you some clarity around why do we ask this question, I'm going to show you two sales pitches on the screen. Call it a sales pitch, call it a market pitch for two brands. And for all of you who are looking at the screen, just make a mental note of which one is resonating with you and why. Okay, so here we go. The first one, version one. We make great computers. They are beautifully designed, simple to use, and user friendly. Want to buy one? Okay, so that's the first bridge for the first brand. Here's the second brand. Everything we do because we believe in challenging the status quo. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed and user friendly. And we happen to make great computers. All right. So this is version two. Once again, version one, version two. So let's do a quick poll. Just type in a quick one or two in the chat and tell us which one is resonating more with you. Okay, so I'm seeing a bunch of twos. So far, no ones. Harpreet says one. Good. It's good to break the group think and go with whatever feels true for you. Okay, another one. Okay, so we have two ones and the rest are twos. All right. Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's also ask why. So for all those of you, okay, let's begin with the ones first, since you are in the minority, but your opinion matters. Why do you say one? What about one do you like? And also same question for whoever has said. So one, because it's simple to understand. Absolutely. It's simple, short, and sweet, as Harpreet is saying. Yes. That's usually the reason why most people like one, or the people who do like one, that's why they like one. And all those of you who said two. So let's go to two here. Why do you say two? What do all of you like about two? Because it's inspiring, Archana says. It's more powerful, Kusuma says. Yes, absolutely. The content is polite and professional. Okay. So if you so we've obviously run this poll a number of times, and each time I have to say the results are fairly consistent. Most people prefer version 2, even though version 1 is short and sweet and to the point. But there is something about version 2 that is going above and beyond. It is painting a picture, it is painting a vision. Quite simply, what it's doing is, it's not what this brand is doing is, it's not just telling you what it does or what it wants to do. It is also telling you why they do what they do. Why do they do what they do? Because they believe in challenging the status quo. That is the purpose, that is at the core of why they do what they do. And for those of you who are familiar with Simon Sinek's work, this is really what he talks about in his work, Start With Why. That look, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And when he says buy, he's not talking about the actual literal act of purchasing, but buying as in buying someone's idea, buying into someone's vision, believing in somebody else, buying into someone's brand. Why would anyone do that? Because not just because of what you do, it's because of why you do it. The why is the thing that really makes you stand out. Because let's think about this. It's quite possible, and often it is, that there may be many of you who have the same what. For example, as we saw, there were quite a few of you has mentioned, at least two of you mentioned something about empowering women. So your what is the same. So for both individuals, the what is the same. So then what is going to make person A stand apart from person B? What is going to distinguish these two individuals, both of whom want to empower women? What's going to distinguish them is their why. Why do you want to empower women? And I bet that if I was to ask both of you who said this, the answer is going to be very personal and unique to you. I highly doubt that both of you would come up with the same response to why. So that is the beauty of why. It is giving you an additional layer of uniqueness and power to your brand. So it is a very important question to ask. And the why is really getting to, why do you do anything? So here's an example of a why. This is Oprah's why. Why does Oprah do everything that she does? Again, a woman with a very strong brand. To be a teacher and to be known for inspiring my students to be more than they thought they could be. Notice she is a talk show host, but the reason why she is doing everything that she does is because the underlying principle, the underlying reason is to inspire people to be more than they think they can be. That is at the core of everything she does. So, the question for all of you, and again, I'm going to say this upfront, is not an easy question to answer. Certainly not in 60 minutes, but still, I want you to dig deep and see what comes up. Why is making this kind of impact important to you? Whether you want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, whether you want to empower women, whether you want to be a leader in your domain, you want to be an expert in your domain, why is that important to you? If you do that, what another way to think about it is, if you do that, what becomes possible for you or the people around you? That might be a way to answer this question as well. So again, be gentle with yourself, but most importantly, be honest with yourself and see what comes up. So again, I'm going to give you about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to reflect on this question and go ahead and answer, journal your answer with whatever feels true for you. All right. Um, Again, we will give you these questions post the session as well. So you will have a chance to come back to this question because it is a very, very important question to answer. I'm going to read out a few responses that we have here. So Shakti is saying, because of my father, to summarize all the experience I had in life and still do, I'm striving to achieve and become my aim. And could you give me more clarity on the second question? Yes, I will come back to the second question, but the first point is beautiful. And Harpreet is saying, by empowering women, I can play a role model for so many of them. And I would be thrilled to see so many later lady Zuckerbergs grow in their career would be amazing. And my inspiration and my motivation is my mom would be so proud of me. And Saroj is saying to empower the needy so they can get equal benefit from tech. Beautiful. So, again, as we can see, three very different responses to this question of why. And each response rather, is powerful in itself. And what makes it powerful is that it is so deeply personal to you. And that is the beauty of why. The reason why we are drawn to anyone is not just because of what they are doing. You could have individuals who are just doing amazing things, but still, what gives them that magic touch, what gives their brand that aura, is not just what they're doing, but why are they doing it? And so, if I am sitting in front of someone and I ask them, why are you doing this? Why are you working so hard in making this happen? And you say, well, and you share with me the story of, well, it's because of my father. He's been my biggest role model, or my mother, she has been my biggest role model all my life, and she has always empowered me. She or he has always empowered me to believe that I can really make a larger contribution in the world, and I believe this to be true for myself, and that is the thing that keeps me going. That is the thing that's going to make you stand out. not just stand out to the person in front of you and not just inspire the person in front of you. That is the thing that's going to keep you going, because this process of giving ourselves this direction to create our brand, to create our leadership identity, it's a long journey. It's not going to happen overnight, as we shared with the definition that we began with. It is going to be a sum total of many, many, many experiences that we create in our lifetime. And the more clear we are about why we are doing this, the more energy, the more joy we find on the journey to making that happen. As Chandrakala is also saying, to see tangible benefits, which in turn is a motivation to do more and explore further. So that's exactly why we do this. And just quickly to clarify, what do we mean by what becomes possible for you is how do you change as an individual if you do this thing that you want to do? How does it help you learn? How does it help you grow? How does it help you evolve? That's what we mean by what becomes possible for you, and equally what becomes possible for others. How do others benefit from you doing the work that you want to do, from you making the impact that you want to make? So that's what we mean by that question. So I hope that answers your question. Now let's keep going. We have two more questions to cover. The Now here's the thing. Typically, you answer the what and the why. Most people then want to jump to the how. They'll be like, okay, Bhavna, I know I'm at point A. I want to get to point B. I'm very clear about what point B is for me. I know why I want to get to point B. Let's now talk about how I can get from point A to point B. But when we are approaching this from a mindfulness perspective, we don't get to the how, we don't jump to the how so quickly. We ask a much more important question, and possibly the most profound question I will give you today, and that is the who. So, again, with the who, also, it requires a lot of deep reflection, but simply go with whatever feels true for you today. The who, before we answer the who, I have a few other set of questions related to that. So I want to show you a couple of brands, both companies and individuals. And in one word or two words, just quickly tell me what is the first word that comes to your mind when I mention these brands or these names. So the first one is Nike. What's the first word that comes to your mind? Navreet is saying, I am possible. Yes, that is definitely one idea that comes to our mind. Manoj is saying athletics. Yes, do it. Smita is saying, Chitra is also saying, do it. Yeah, absolutely. Agile. Yes, very true. Everyone can do it. Speed. So exactly, I think you're all capturing it. What Nike really is saying is, I want every person who is who's out there to think of themselves as an athlete, and it's about, and they want their brand to be about triggering or uncovering, tapping into that inner athlete and finding that sense of determination to do whatever it is that you want to do, this feeling of just do it, I can do it. Okay, so that's Nike. Here's another example. Apple. What is the first word that comes to your mind? Perfection. Perfection. Reinvent. Expensive. Yes. There's no denying that. Elegant. Robust. Best in its class. Okay, great. Those are a great set of responses. Now I want to show you individual brands. And again, just throw out whatever is the first word that comes to your mind. Um, Mother Teresa, peace, humility, compassion, love, kindness, peace, giver. empathy. And as you are looking at the chat, please do also start to notice a pattern. I used to, and we'll come back to this, but also just start to look out for patterns in the responses. Malala, again, what's the first word? Bold, brave, achiever, strength, bold, brave. Again, please notice the pattern. And let's look at a more contemporary and a daughter. Yes. Let's look at a celebrity here. Sonam Kapoor. Again, first word that comes to your mind: beauty, fashion, diva, fashion, beautiful. All right, artist. Yes. All right. Okay. So I notice I asked you to look out for patterns. So I want to ask you that question again. I showed you a couple of companies who have a strong brand. I showed you individuals who have a strong brand. What are you noticing based on the responses you have seen? What is standing out for you? Anything you've observed? There's a similarity in the sentiments. They all have strong brands, impactful brands, strengths. Yes, the thing that makes every single one of these brands as strong as they are is that there is a certain consistency with which they are communicating who they are and what they stand for. And because there is a consistency in communicating that through pretty much everything that they do, everything that they say, everything that they are conveying through their actions, um, because of which if you put up a picture of any of these brands, you notice most of us were saying the same thing about them. You know, as soon as I put up a picture of Mother Teresa, everyone was saying kind, compassionate, giving. As soon as I put up a picture of Malala, everyone is saying brave, bold. As soon as I put up a picture of Sonam Kapoor, everyone is saying beautiful or fashion, Apple, reinvention, visionary, Nike, determination, can do it. What are these words? What are these qualities that I've just thrown out? These are what we call values. And for all of these brands, they have built their brands around a core set of values, and they are conveying these values consistently over and over again. So now the question is, what if I was to put up a picture of you? So I'm just picking out a random name here. So Chandrakala, right? So let's say I put up a picture of Chandrakala, and I, invite your colleagues into the room. I invite your friends and family into the room, and I put up a picture of you, and we do the same exercise with them. And we say, okay, here's a picture of Chandrakala, here's a picture of Chitra, or here's a picture of Harpreet. What is the first word that comes to your mind? And if we are building our brand intentionally, then what we can hope for is that everyone in the room will unanimously say the same thing, whatever you want them to say. So, for example, let's say for Harpreet, the word is creativity. You want everybody in the room to say yes. You know, when I see, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Harpreet is creativity and innovation. The first thing that comes to my mind when I look at Chitra is kindness. The first thing that comes to my mind when I look at Chandrakala is excellence, whatever that value is. And it's going to be different for each and every one of you. Again, that's where the uniqueness comes in, because each and every one of us is different things are important to us. But if we are conveying our identity, our brand, who we are, intentionally and mindfully, then everyone will say the same thing. So the who is, who would I like to be? Who, as a woman, as a man, whatever, however you identify, who would I like to be in terms of your core brand values? So, and the thing with the who is, even if you don't know what you want to do, it can be really powerful to know who it is you want to be. Because in mindfulness, we say we are a human being. Yes, we are always doing 24/7. We're doing something or the other, but the foundation that makes all of that doing possible is the being. And what is at the core of our being is what we stand for, what are our values. And that is also what mindful leadership is about. How do we live and lead? And when we live and lead in alignment with our highest values, that is when we say we are living and leading mindfully. So the next question I have for you, and again, ideally we would give you a lot of time to reflect on this question, but just go with whatever feels true for you. If So I have a set of values here on the screen, and it's not a complete list. It's just a list to just to get you to start thinking. If you had to pick a core set of brand values for you, words that you want your name, your identity, your brand to be synonymous with, almost like your middle name, what would that be for you? And you can pick one, you can pick two, you can pick three, you can pick as many as you like. But ideally, for the sake of clarity, we say pick your top three. And for the time being, because we don't have a lot of time, at least pick one. Pick the one that's really jumping out at you. So Shakti has already given us a set of values: accomplishment, humor, and truth. Manoj is saying power, patience, discipline. Navreet is saying positivity, adventure, discipline. If I could add one more, sure. Chandrakala, collaboration, positivity, integrity. Yarasi saying patience and positivity. Harpreet, positivity, truth, and power. Awesome. I want to give the rest of you another minute. Okay, great. Um, I am loving the responses that are coming through in the chat. These are all very, very powerful values that you've all outlined for yourself. Um, and if any of you have not had a chance to think about this, rather, if it's not enough time, again, you can come back to this. But this is one question I would strongly encourage every single one of you to come back to, because this is really at the core of what makes our identity, our our brand, call it whatever you want to call it. What's really going to make that strong impact on people around us is the set of values that we constantly and consistently convey through our words um, and everything we do. Now the final question is how. So let me ask you, how would anyone know that these are the values you stand for? So everyone has articulated a very strong set of values, whether it's kindness, excellence, discipline. How would anyone around you, the people you work with, the people who know you, anyone who knows you, how would they know that these are your values? How do we convey our values to the world? Through our actions, exactly.
Mama, Papa.
Sorry, that's my son. The reality of working from home. I never know. I never know when my son is going to make a guest appearance in my sessions. The how, exactly as Nareed said, is about communicating to everyone what we stand for through our actions. And the way we do that is taking our values and converting them to a set of goals and actions that make our values visible to the world. And I really want to emphasize the word visible. And I would really encourage every single one of you to think about how you can make your values visible, because it may mean something to you in your heart and in your mind, and you may, with all the genuineness, really believe in these values. But if we really want to inspire people around us towards a certain vision, towards a certain goal that is important to us, it is very important that we also convey those values to others, because that is what will help guide people along. So I'll give you an example here. I think it's a great example, and that's of Jacinda Ardern. As you know, this year she's been quite celebrated. She's the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she's been widely celebrated because she is one of the few leaders, of course, who has done a phenomenal job at containing the situation related to the pandemic in her country. She was very quick to take action, one of the first countries to go into lockdown. But and what has consistently allowed her to be effective at what she does is that she's very clear about the values that she stands for. And in fact, that was one of the first questions she was asked when she became the prime minister, that what is the difference she wants to bring into the government. And she said very clearly she wants to make the government kinder. Those were her exact words, that she wanted to bring more kindness into the government. So that was her value. And she has been consistently translating that value into a set of goals that she can go after, and consistently looking at how she can bring greater kindness into all aspects of governance. And as you can see in this image, this is another example of that. There was a really horrific shooting that happened last year, I believe, where members of members of a religious community were at the receiving end of a lot of violence. And she was very quick, even then, to, as you can see, to, put on a hijab, go meet the individuals who were impacted by this. And immediately following that incident, she decided to ban all firearms in the country, because she was clear that kindness is something she wants to spread, and easy access to firearms does not go hand in hand with kindness or creating a kind culture, creating kindness in the country. So, similarly, with the set of values that you have, you want to think about what goal you can set for yourself that is going to inspire you, rather, I would say, challenge you to make your value, to exercise your value and express your value. And I'll just give you a set of examples from my personal life as well, just to show you that this is something, this is not just a theory, this is something I live by every day as well. So these are some of my values: courage, mindfulness, and generosity. And every year, every single year, of course, your values don't change. But I ask myself the same question: how do I express courage this year? What goal can I set for myself to express greater courage? How do I express greater mindfulness this year? How do I express greater generosity this year? And based on the answer, I come up with a set of challenging goals for myself. So for courage in my line of work, it's very clear to me that if my dream is to become an authority in the space of women's leadership and in the space of mindful leadership, I have to I have to really share my ideas, and be quite vocal and quite open about doing so, even when it scares me, which is why it's an act of courage. And so, consistent with that, every year I set myself a goal for, okay, so this year I'm going to, for example, last year it was about, okay, I'm going to write X number of articles. I really want to put these ideas out there in the world. This year it's been about putting out a set of again, sharing ideas, but sharing them through small bite-sized videos, which I've been putting out on LinkedIn every single Monday. I call them Mindful Monday videos, without fail. No exceptions allowed whatsoever. Again, because it is what allows me to do that is because it's so deeply connected to a value of mine, which is courage. And then generosity is another value for me as an individual, as well as for Shenomics, which is the organization that we run. And again, the question was, okay, how do we express the value of generosity in the world? And for us, the answer was clear, is that we want to take this work even to women who cannot afford it. Not just, all of us who are privileged enough to sit in front of our laptops and go through sessions like this, but what about women who don't have this access? And so with that in mind, we created a fellowship program to provide a leadership journey to young women from tier 2 and tier 3 cities who cannot afford this kind of leadership training. And finally, I'll give you a fun example, because it is important as well, which is because we're talking about making your brand visible, so again, the question for me always is, how do I live more mindfully? And for me, last year, I realized one area where I was not being very mindful is in just consuming more than I needed to, especially with clothing. And so I decided I would go on a complete shopping fast and not buy any clothes for 500 days. And I completed my 500-day fast about a month ago. And instead, what I would do is I would just recycle old clothes. So I don't know how many of you can see on your screen here. So this jacket that you see me wearing is made from an old sari. So instead of buying clothes, what I'm doing is I'm converting old clothes into new clothes. So I still get the benefit of wearing different kinds of clothes, but without creating additional strain on the environment. And still creating a mindful closet. So here are some additional outfits that I've created from old clothes. So all this just to give you an example and to really emphasize that if consistently we're asking ourselves this question, okay, what is core to who I am? What are the values that I stand for? And how do I consistently keep translating that into a set of actions, however small those actions may be? We put ourselves on this upward spiral. Every action that we take is taking us closer to becoming who we want to become, this identity that we want to form. And that can be really powerful. So the last question I have for you today is around the how. And again, just go with whatever is coming up for you right now. But if you were to challenge yourself to visibly convey to the world around you what you stand for, how would you do that? Can you create a goal for yourself to convey to people around you that this is who you are and this is what you believe in? So I'm going to give you a minute and see what you come up with. All right. Anyone have an example of a goal that came to your mind through which you can convey or express your values? I'm going to read out Harpreet's response. Be positive, project positivity all around you. You become a sun in the center of every constellation, and people want to be near you. That's when I can fall 7 times and stand up 8 times. Great. That's beautiful. Great. And to make it a lot more concrete, what I would do is make it really specific. How am I going to project positivity? Am I going to, I'm just giving you a silly example. First thing in the morning, send a inspirational message to everyone on my team. Am I going to write about something positive once a week and share it on LinkedIn? It is entirely up to you how you choose to do this, but you want to make it as specific as possible, because if we don't make it specific and measurable, it's very easy to lose track of these values and consistently expressing these values. So, to all of you, I would say come up with a very specific and measurable way to express your core and brand values. So, I see that we're out of time. So, I want to really uh, give you this as a homework assignment is put your what, why, and who together to create one unique statement for yourself. And I'll give you an example of this. Here's Steve Jobs: to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. It tells you what is his what. The what is he wants to make tools, or at the time when he was still with us, to make tools for the mind. His why was to advance humankind. That's why he wanted to make tools for the mind. And his larger value that was driving everything was to make a positive contribution to the world. That was the underlying value. So you can see how he's brought it all together. He did that to create one brand unique guiding statement for himself. So I would encourage all of you to do this, to go back, reflect on your what, why, and who, and put it all together in one statement. So finally, what I want to share with you as takeaways are: have a vision for your brand, because if we don't have that vision, we won't know which direction to move in, and also to do all the hard work that is needed to keep building that brand every day, over and over again. Um, Build your brand around your core set of values, things that are uniquely important and meaningful to you. And finally, because it's so important for us to have a visible brand, I would strongly encourage you to consistently come up with specific, measurable, and challenging ways in which you can express your brand to the world through a consistent set of actions that convey to everyone who you are and what you stand for. And if we continue to come back to these three things, that is really what will give us a brand that is authentic, powerful, and memorable.